They keep telling us every chance they get that the lack of black head coaches in the NFL is a big problem. But what I'm about to show you proves that the narrative of there not being enough black head coaches in the NFL is a bunch of BS. Let's go ahead and just bust that narrative right now. Yeah, I said it. The constant droning of there not being enough black head coaches in the NFL is something I'm tired of hearing. Let's go ahead and just tear that story down right now. First, you have to understand that the NFL does not hire any coaches. There's not a single coach coaching in the NFL that was hired by the NFL. Second, other than the Green Bay Packers, every single coach on every NFL team works for a privately owned business. Are we now at the point where we're going to force privately held businesses to hire people based upon race? So what's next? Are we going to force NFL teams to hire Hispanic coaches, gay coaches, trans coaches? Where's this absurdity going? Where's it end? You know, some of the most vocal voices you hear in the media have a hypocrisy problem that they never, ever talk about. You see, Stephen A. Smith works for a white man. Jamel Hill works for a white man. Joy Reid works for a white man. Did you know that? I'm betting you probably didn't, because you're not supposed to know that. You're not supposed to bring that up. You're not supposed to have conversations about some of the leading black voices in sports actually working for white men. But it's 100% true. It's undeniable. But do you know what's really interesting? There was a white NFL head coach recently hired, and nobody questioned it. There wasn't even a sniff of racism talk. He just quietly took the job, and everybody shut up. Here he is, right here.
Kevin O'Connell. The Vikings have decided to hire Rams offensive coordinator Kevin O'Connell as their next head coach. O'Connell's been the Rams OC for the past 2 seasons. LA ranked in the top 4 in the NFL this season in both yards and points per game.
So good for Kevin O'Connell. He got a new head coaching job in the NFL. Did a great job with the Rams, and now he's going to be the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. And he's white, and he didn't get any flack for being a white head coach. But do you know why no one questioned it? You have to wonder why nobody questioned the hiring of a new white NFL head coach. Doesn't it make you just wonder, why was this guy never talked about? Why did nobody have a problem with Kevin O'Connell being the next head coach of the Minnesota Vikings? Perhaps this is why.
We've got some breaking news for the Minnesota Vikings.
They finalized a 4-year deal for former Browns executive VP of football operations, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. It was pretty quickly identified as someone who was rising in our world.
Hi, I'm Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. I'm so excited to be the general manager of the Minnesota Vikings.
So let me get this right. So a black GM gets hired. He brings in a new NFL head coach. That coach is white. Nobody says a word. That's because he was hired by a black GM. Where was Stephen A. Smith and the rest of the grievance crowd when the Minnesota Vikings hired a new head coach and he was a white man? They were silent. And why were they silent? Because Kevin O'Connell was hired by a black man. Let me ask you a question. How can the NFL have a racism problem because there's not enough black head coaches in the NFL, when a black GM is okay with hiring a white head coach? Does that make any sense to anybody? To me, that destroys their narrative and all of their complaints. A white head coach was hired by the Minnesota Vikings. Nobody complained about it because he was hired by a black GM. You can't get more hypocritical than that. So in killing their narrative, they also killed Brian Flores' lawsuit. But don't worry, we all know Brian's going to get paid. He's going to make millions of dollars. They're going to settle out of court. They have to. Besides, he's going to be fine. He's got a new gig with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, that Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers, who the Rooney Rule was named after their owners. That's some serious irony. As I've mentioned before, the Brian Flores lawsuit is a sham. Check out that video right here. Talk to you next time.